This is the Dodgers Postcast, your instant game reaction for the Los Angeles Dodgers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right. Hello again. That was my little rain delay on the Locked On Dodgers Postcast. Thank you for joining me. I am Pete Fox, covering sports in LA dating back to 2007 for ESPN LA and NBC Sports Radio. Dodgers figure out a way. 7-5 in 13 innings. 3 extra frames where nobody scored with the free runner at second base. Nothing in the 10th, nothing in the 11th, nothing in the 12th. Dodgers figure out a way to scratch a couple across in the 13th thanks to Teoscar Hernandez, who gets it done. Tonight's episode of the Locked On Dodgers Postcast is brought to you by FanDuel. You're new to FanDuel, it's a good time to become a new customer. You'll get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Head to FanDuel.com to find out more. It all started pretty good for Kershaw. As I was saying before, I don't know where the internet started to crap out on me, but Kershaw looked much more confident today, a little bit better than he did in his first outing of the season. I'm not trying to tell you he's Kershaw of old, but he definitely looked better through the 2 innings, didn't allow a hit. Would have been nice to see if he could have made it through 4 or 5. I don't know. We had a little over an hour and a half rain delay. I think it was an hour and 38 minutes. As soon as they come back from the rain delay, Will Smith with runners in scoring position at 500. Teoscar Hernandez also knocked in a run and gave the Dodgers a quick 3-0 advantage. Casparius was dealing. Don't know why they took him out of the game. Oh, he threw 46 pitches. So what? Let him throw 10 more. Game would have been over a long time ago if they left Casparius in there. And then Tanner Scott comes in the 9th and coughs up the lead. Quick, fast, and in a hurry. 4-seamer up for the triple to O'Neill. And then he threw a big, fat meatball slider right over the middle of the plate. I don't know what's going on with Tanner Scott, but he's definitely out of sorts. I don't know if it's mental. I don't know if it's physical or both. But he needs to get back on track because he is becoming a liability, like Soto is for the Mets. And I agree with the Mets manager that they talked to during the game, Heidi Watney, that he'll find his way. He'll figure it out. He's just not there yet. Probably a lot of pressure hanging over his head now that he's being paid $7 billion to play baseball. So he's over his last 10 games when it comes to extra base hits. So nothing today from him as well. The big hitters on both sides of the ledger, whether it's the Mets or the Dodgers, didn't do a whole lot of anything. Lindor, 0 for 4. Sterling Marte did have a couple of hits. Soto, 0 for 5. Alonso, 0 for 3. As I say in the notes right there, the top 3 in the Dodgers lineup, Shohei was the only one to get a hit, and that was late. Betts was 0 for 5. Freeman 0 for 3 with 3 Ks, average falling all the way down to 331. But from there, it all picks up for the Dodgers. Will Smith, Teo, Muncy, all got hits and RBI. So that's the beauty of this lineup. And if you ask me, I think this lineup right here is one of my favorites. I went and looked up how many base hits or how many times Tommy Edmonds batted 9th. He's had prior to tonight 4 at bats, and he was 2 for 4. So I'm sure he doesn't like it much, but I love Tommy Edman batting 9th in the lineup. I mean, what a luxury. Conforto, a former Met, got his first hit of the game in his first at bat. So that was nice to see. I was hoping maybe he'd go off, that whole I'm back here facing my former team phenomenon that always seems to happen. There's a chip on players' shoulders when they come to face their former team, and not just in baseball, it's in any sport. But I guess one hit for him is saying something. It's better than nothing. But at the end of the day, the bottom of the lineup was much better than the top of the lineup. Andy Pajes, as I said, 2 RBI in the win for them, and he continues to rake 267 with an OPS over 800. But the bullpen, I think you have to give them credit. You have to say, hey, They pitched well. And in the end, Juan Garcia did the job. I thought they were cooked by the time they got to him because, they were out of arms. They're like, you're the guy. Have fun. Let's do this.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
I guess we have it to give it to Teoscar Hernandez, 3 RBI, 2 hits, including the game-winning knock in the ninth, in the 13th inning. The craziest thing about this game was neither team could score with that runner at second base. I don't know that it is rare to go 13 innings in this day and age of baseball with that extra runner at second base in extras. I've never seen that. I was like, sack fly really is what you need. But the Dodgers kept hitting like weak ground balls, and then the Mets kept hitting into double plays, and no one could find any solid contact. No one could do anything at all in those first 10th, 11th, and 12th, those first 3 extra innings. And then Teo, thank God, came up and ripped a double down the left field line to give the Dodgers a 6-5 lead. Then they scored on a sac fly. And with a 7-5 advantage, Andy Pajes with the RBI there, you felt pretty comfortable. But again, the bullpen extended. Garcia 2 1/3, only 2 walks, and the rest zeros for him. So you have to tip your cap to that guy without a doubt. Bonda was okay, 2/3 of an inning, couple of walks, strikeout, got himself into a jam, had to get pulled. Trevino came in 2/3 of an inning. He's been really good. Zeros across the board, 15 pitches. Vesia gave up a hit, but had 2 Ks. Again, it was all on Tanner Scott's shoulder. He's going to have a tough night falling asleep tonight. But I guess in the end, a win is a win is a win. And you really have to say honorable mention for player of the game to Ben Casparius, 46 pitches, 3 innings, 6 Ks. He had everything working tonight. I was like, oh, he's dialed in with the off speed. The curveball was a big 12-6 meatball not meatball. Sorry. That's what I described. The slider that didn't do anything. It was a 12-6 unhittable diving curveball. And then when he mixed in the cutter, that was even more wicked. And then the fastball had extreme life on it, up and away, 97. He was cooking, man. And I was like, just leave him in. He's gone. He could stretch him out. He's fine throwing 50, 60 pitches. No need to save him. This game would have been over about 3 hours ago, but that's not what the book says. Got to get 10. I mean, I get it. Look, it makes sense, right? All right. Casparius has done his job. Sauer was okay. Did give up 2 runs on 3 hits, but, Casparius comes in, quiets things down. Dodgers grab a lead. It's 5-2 going into the night. Yeah, let's bring in our guy that we had. I don't know if he's considered the closer, but I've heard him referenced as the closer. Let's bring him in and slam the door, right? Even though he hasn't been good of late, this will be a good opportunity for him to get some confidence. And whew, boy, did that backfire. So unfortunately, he's going to have to do some big time page turning tonight.
This is what you'll be talking about.
There's a lot to talk about with regard to what happened in this game. I guess the biggest story is the fact that they went 13 and the Dodgers figured out a way to win it. 7-5. No runs for the first 3 extra innings on both sides, and then the Dodgers got 2 in the 13th and win it. Another thing you'll be talking about in this game, if you watched or if you didn't and you talked to a friend who did, is those bizarre, weird umpire calls, which we're going to talk about after the break. It's the Locked On Dodgers postcast on the Locked On Dodgers YouTube channel, the place to hang out when every game is done, even if it starts 6.5 hours ago. 7-5 the final. Dodgers now 32-19. Who got the win? We need to give him credit. Yeah, Garcia did. He's now 2-0. So when we come back, we'll talk about these weird, bizarre umpire calls that some of them were right, some of them were surprising, interesting, and some of them were wrong. So we'll get to that after the break. It's the Locked On Dodgers postcast on the Locked On Dodgers YouTube channel. Tonight's episode of the Locked On Dodgers Postcast is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing. Knicks are in a 2-0 hold to the Pacers. Every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's game-winning shots or breakout players, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live during the game with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. The live game betting for me is really fun. Probably would have lost on this one if I was live betting this Dodger game, because after they didn't score in the 10th, and the home team in a extra inning baseball game has an advantage for sure, because that last at bat means a lot. But tonight the Dodgers made it happen, made it work. I probably would have lost because I would have said, well, you didn't score in the 10th or the 11th, you're done. and you're burning through bullpen guys, and you're running out of arms. So it's rare that you could have a guy come out of the bullpen in the 11th and 12th and even the 10th and pitch that long and get it done. And that's what Juan Garcia did tonight. He was amazing. So if you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first bet. If that $5 bet wins, you'll win $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel at FanDuel.com, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Called him Juan Garcia. Sorry, it's Luis Garcia. Apologies, Luis. Good job tonight. You have honorable mention as player of the game. Teo got the win, and you deserve tons of credit for keeping the Dodgers in this one when it didn't seem like they were going to be. As far as those weird umpire calls, that first one took us back to the 1800s. For those of you who didn't watch the game and you're just listening, what happened was a fly ball hit to right center field, and I think it was the center fielder bobbled it, and the right fielder was there. They ended up making the catch, and Conforto was at second base, tagged up and went on to third, and then they reviewed the play because he definitely was running when the ball was secured, when the catch was made, not when it was first touched. So he gets to third. Everyone, including the broadcasters, is like, well, he's out because he left early. Well, the rule is as soon as the ball is touched, if you tagged up at that point, you're good to go, because back in the 1800s, some dude, when it was a completely different game, figured out if I bobble the ball, the runner can't advance. So he started, when fly balls were hit to him, rather than securing it, he would bobble it. So I say kudos to the guy who found that stat in a few minutes. I was like, how did he dig that up? That's amazing. But those guys that are statisticians in the baseball press box are remarkable, how they can pull up these stats like so quickly. Took me like 20 minutes to find how many times Tommy Edman had batted ninth and what his batting average was from the 9 hole. By the way, 2 for 4. And the rest of the day today added on to that to not make that any better, because he was 1 for 6. So, at least he got a hit. That's good to see. But then that play at third base where he called Max Muncy for interference for standing in the way of who was it? Alvarez, Beatty, Acuna, Lindor, it was Marte, Sterling Marte. So fly ball to right field. Teo makes the catch and then lasers a rocket to home on a fly, hoses the runner at the plate. Marte is called safe because the third base umpire, Tripp, never trust a guy named Tripp, says that Max Muncy stands between Marte and the right fielder, Teoscar Hernandez. So Marte couldn't see Teoscar, and that's interference. I'm like, really? That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. But apparently it's a rule. They all know it. It's not surprising. I guess it was a little surprising that the exact same thing happened in extra innings and they didn't call it there. Tripp came over and explained it to Max and the rest of the Dodger dugout, who was going crazy when the exact same thing happened. But the difference being that Teo scored on the one in extras and Marte did not score. And here's the thing I wonder about. When you guys saw it, did it seem like he was doing it by accident or intentionally? I would have a tough time arguing that it wasn't intentional. The real .005 says Mets also do the same and they didn't call for it. Right. Well, he says Muncy, or she, I can't tell. Muncy was just standing in his position. I don't know. I mean, yeah, he was just standing there. He didn't do anything. It wasn't like he shifted his body to get in the way, but yeah, I felt like, I don't know. I have a tough time being adamant that he didn't do it on purpose. It's a ridiculous call. There's no way he can't see the outfielder. Oh, where is he? I can't see him. He's standing in front of me 4 feet away. That's the part of it to me that is just ridiculous. But, it's a rule. So don't hate the player, hate the game. Bottom line, I thought it was just a ridiculous call, and then he didn't call it later. Not that it would have mattered, but I look at it and I go, because it kind of seemed like Muncy maybe scooted up just a hair. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. We have I don't know what this guy, Dodgers suck is his handle. Tanner Scott looks good in Dodger blue, 4 laughy faces. So it's probably a Padres fan. Could be a Giants fan. You really got to hate the Dodgers to have your handle be the Dodgers suck. What does Samuel Gelber say? There's this nice handle. Here's my name. I think he's Muncy. Has done this before. I remember him being called for obstruction 2 years ago and they never showed the replay. All right. He's notorious for this. They spent a lot of time talking about it in the broadcast booth. And, they were like, we're not unfamiliar with this type of thing. I think they said Pete Rose was infamous for doing this at third base. So it's not a new thing. It was new to us. Just like that other, that play in the outfield, that was new to me. I was like, yeah, he's out. He left before the guy secured the ball, but it does make sense. That, it's when the ball is touched, because what if you touch it and it bounces out of your glove and you're able to dive and make the catch? The runner shouldn't have to wait for you to secure it as long as they tag up and move on. So that was interesting, and just some weird stuff going on in this game across the board. Hour and a half rain delay. Then the rain was kind of coming and going. One of the Mets pitchers, it was Diaz, decides that the mound is a little too clumpy and wet. So they call timeout and the grounds crew has to come out and throw down some drying dirt. I'm like, that's the same for both sides. The weather is the weather. It's raining, right? Tough. Deal with the mud on your cleats. You don't get to call timeout and say, oh, it's too muddy. I can't pitch. Ugh, that was annoying. So just a lot of weird stuff across the board on this game. But in the end, it's good that the Dodgers figured out a way to get the win. It's also good that Soto's continuing to struggle and Lindor was 0 for. I would like to see more out of the top of the lineup for the Dodgers. Ohtani, 1 for 5, did hit the ball hard when he hit it. Mookie 0 for, batting average at .259. Freddie 0 for with 3 Ks. Never like to see that, but good news for Freddie is that he's never down for too long. Will Smith stays hot. Teo stays hot. Muncy gets an RBI single going the other way. That was a nice piece of hitting from him. Andy Pajes ripped one to left. Lots of positive things at the plate in a 13-inning marathon that lasted almost 6 hours. Dodgers finish with 10 hits and 1 error and a whole mess of pitchers on the mound. Kershaw went 2, Sauer went 3, Casparius 3, looked great. Tanner Scott, a disaster, only 1/3 of an inning. Vesia 1 inning. Trevino looked great, 2/3. Bonda 2/3, and Luis Garcia 2 1/3. to get the win, and that is good news because this one would have really sucked to lose because it just felt like they were cruising. I feel like the Dodgers always play confidently against the Mets, unlike they do against the Diamondbacks and some other teams, but they always seem to come out and, play well. And another tip of the cap to Apple on the broadcast tonight for going back to the NLCS and showing highlights from that 6-game series where both teams, whenever in wins, were putting up big numbers, routes on both sides in that 4-game or 6-game series win for the Dodgers, 4-2. So it was nice to kind of flash back to that. We spent so much time flashing back to the World Series. It was also nice to flash back to see the Mets. And then they also did something which was pretty cool. They showed probably a dozen different players that have both played for the Dodgers and the Mets. That was also cool to see. 7-5 the final tonight as the Dodgers win it in 13. Game 2 also right around 4:00 tomorrow. Hopefully the weather is better. 4:15 to be specific. It'll be on Fox. And Tony Gonsolin gets the ball for the Dodgers versus David Peterson. Thanks for hanging with me. Thanks for coming back after the internet crapped out. I appreciate you guys. Always appreciate the listens and the views. And, of course, the comments. We'll be back tomorrow to break it down right after it is over. It's the Locked On Dodgers postcast on the Locked On Dodgers YouTube channel. Don't forget to check out Jeff and Vince with the Locked On Daily Dodgers podcast Monday through Friday. They break it down as well. In depth. 30 to 35 minutes, 5 days a week to give you the latest as to what is going on in the Dodger universe. Have a good night. We will talk tomorrow.